remember, the U.S. promulgated its first constitution in 1787, right? In 1787.
Yeah.
And that we didn't find that in the U.S. Constitution, but in French Haiti, because remember I said we have to now use French Haiti to refer to what they call Saint-Domingue, and to Spanish Haiti to refer to what they call Hispaniola, or the Dominican Republic, or the Dominica Republicana, right? So so the Article 3, 4, and 5 of that Constitution say there cannot exist slaves on this territory. Servitude is therein forever abolished. Servitude is therein forever abolished. Listen carefully. All men are born, live, and die free. All men are born, live, and die free. All men, regardless of color, are eligible to all employment. There should exist no discrimination other than those based on virtue and talent. And finally, the law is the same for all. So if we want to interpret that those Article 3, 4, and 5 of the 1801 Constitution, what we can say, see that since 1801, in the hemisphere, we had a constitution that promulgated by a black governor in French Haiti, Toussaint Louverture, that denounced slavery, servitude, and bondage. Second, we have also to recognize that at that moment during the beginning of the 19th century, that constitution was actually anticipate what black people in America are celebrating as Juneteenth. Why I'm saying that? Why I'm saying that the 1801 Constitution of Toussaint Louverture anticipate Juneteenth, it's because that constitution was ratified during what they call the 14 Mésidor. Remember, the 14 Mésidor according to the French calendar. But the 14 Mésidor or the 14 Mésidor correspond to the current date, June 19, start on June 19 and June 20th, and ended in July 18 and July 19. So therefore, the Haitian Constitution of 1801 anticipated what Black and African American are currently celebrated at Juneteenth, because the spirit of Juneteenth was already presented in those articles that I read for you, the Article 3, 4, and 5 of the 1801 Constitution of Toussaint Louverture. And let's wrap up that first question with that comment. You mentioned also that Toussaint Louverture, according to Marcus Garvey, is or was the greatest hero of all time. I'm not agree with that, because we have to be mindful that Toussaint Louverture was not the guy who completed the Haitian Revolution. He was an important pioneer, because in 1802, the last battle, the last struggle for the Haitian Revolution happened on November 18, 1803. At that time, Toussaint Louverture was in jail in Fort-de-Joux in France.
Correct.
So, and Toussaint Louverture was a very important pioneer, and Louverture means the opening. That guy opened the gate so that people like Jean-Jacques Dessalines could complete the task. Actually, before getting deported to France, Toussaint Louverture said, en me renversant, I will say that in French and I can translate, en me renversant, on a abattu à Saint-Domingue que le tronc de l'arbre de la liberté des Noirs, mais elle se repoussa par ses racines. That means you can deport me, but the seed of freedom is already planted. So it's something that is really rooted in my people. So there will be people who will take the task where I left it. You know, so that's why Toussaint Louverture is a pioneer of the Haitian Revolution, but Jean-Jacques Dessalines was the greatest man, because Toussaint Louverture also, we have to understand, Toussaint Louverture, he was the son of Gayou Guinou, and right. Gayou Guinou was born in Africa, and Gayou Guinou was a king in Africa, you know, because Gayou Guinou was a king in Africa. So Toussaint Louverture, he was educated, you know, with that spirit that I am someone very special. So Toussaint Louverture, he never, thought he was not like a French citizen. Actually, if you go back to the 1801 Constitution, the 1801 Constitution say we all people were born, live, and die free and French, you know. So Toussaint Louverture was very important, but the most radical figure was not Toussaint Louverture. The most radical figure was Jean-Jacques Dessalines. But since, you know, there are many historians, because Dessalines was against the, you know, the system. Toussaint Louverture was someone who was more like a reformist. He would like to make some important reform, but the very, very important revolutionary was Jean-Jacques Dessalines, because Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he understood, you know, that the enemy, you cannot play with the enemy. So that's why Jean-Jacques Dessalines, when after completing the Haitian Revolution, 2 years after, in 1806, he get killed, they assassinated Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and the elite prohibited to mention the name of Jean-Jacques Dessalines until 1843. You know, so in Western historiography, they have banished the name of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So that's why we have also more literature on Toussaint Louverture and not that much on Jean-Jacques Dessalines. But in a scale of value, I am not sure that Toussaint Louverture was the greatest hero than Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Also, to complete that, you mentioned the idea of no one can land can own land in Haiti, and right. We find that in the second article of, it was not really in the 1801 Constitution, but in the 1805 Constitution of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. That Constitution was promulgated on May 20th, 1805. It was in that Constitution that actually Jean-Jacques Dessalines mentioned that no one can own land on this territory, you know. So this is those just thing I just would like to highlight for you. Yeah.
Definitely, and I appreciate you for making that correction. But I didn't say that. Well, maybe I did say that. But yeah, you're right. Dessalines is the one who put that in the Constitution. But what I was emphasizing was that General Toussaint was the one that said that all men are born free.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But you know what? Let me ask you a question. How much time do you have?
No, I have time for you. If you have time, I have time for you.
All right, because I just realized that YouTube wasn't recording live where people can see both of us up until about 10 minutes ago. So I know a lot of people just jumping in, and there's a few people leaving comments now on YouTube, like Major Leagues and Akantunde of the Haitians. So shout out to them. Bless up for tuning in and your comments and questions. Major League said Toussaint was a pioneer for the Louisiana and Chicago. And so to elaborate on that comment right quick, when the Haitian soldiers, the African Haitians, like I like to say, defeated the French, they forced Napoleon, because Napoleon was going broke. So he had to finance the wars that he had going on in Europe. So he had to sell the Louisiana territory, which was compromised. Compromised was composed of about 15 states: Louisiana, Montana, like the whole Midwest.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
definitely. Yes,
so
North Dakota, South Dakota, because at that time it was called French Louisiana, La Louisiane Française.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Exactly. So that's why, they in Louisiana, they got the French quarters and the French design homes, because the French were heavily involved in Louisiana. They owned it. So if it wasn't for Haiti and Napoleon selling that territory for $15 million to, I want to say Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, it was Thomas Jefferson, but the Thomas Jefferson delegated James Monroe to make the deal for him. Okay. You know, James Monroe was the one who made the deal on behalf of Thomas Jefferson. Okay. Right. Yeah, and that is very important for our audience too.
Correct.
Because now we are living in an empire, right? I'm in Brooklyn, New York. And I lease a car. I don't own the car, because we are talking about ownership. I lease the car, right? So, and in my car, the car has a plate. The plate of my car reads, Empire State. If you go, you can see, for instance, Alicia Keys and Empire State of Mind. Alicia Keys and Jay-Z, they have their son, Empire State of Mind. So I am living with my family in the heart of the empire. But the US wasn't born as an empire. And the role of Haiti was important, and the struggle, the process of the Haitian Revolution was a factor, very decisive factor in the becoming of the US as an empire. Let me explain that quickly. So the goal of Napoleon Bonaparte was to establish an empire in the world. So his goal was, to get of the enslaved African in French Haiti, and then to go and, to conquer the world, right? So, but the upset of the Haitian Revolution, the upset of the French army in French Haiti, in Vertières, will discourage Napoleon Bonaparte. So Napoleon Bonaparte will say, if we lose Saint-Domingue, that is French Haiti, so why we need Louisiana? So that's the failure of the French army in French Haiti, in Saint-Domingue, was the main reason for why the Napoleon Bonaparte sold French Louisiana to the US. Back at that time, French Louisiana, La Louisiane Française, incorporated many states, North Dakota, South Dakota, you mentioned many of them. So, and with the acquisition of French Louisiana, La Louisiane Française, it will double the size of the US. So with that acquisition, the US will become a continental power, right? A continental power. Since James Monroe was the one who made the deal, when Monroe will become, I think, the 5th president of the US, the doctrine of Monroe, l'Amérique aux Américains, America for American. So because the US was already a continental power, so that continental power will increase the interest of Monroe and the US in order to make the US an empire. So the becoming of the empire, US an empire, without the Haitian Revolution, without the acquisition, the Louisiana Purchase, the US wouldn't become the empire that it is now. This is what I just would like to highlight.
Thank you for doing that. And many believe that there wouldn't be no United States of America had not Napoleon sold that territory to the U.S. because they greatly expanded. There's the westward expansion, and you got Arizona, you got California, the San Francisco Gold Rush. So a lot of things happened because of that deal.
Definitely.
But I wanted to mention something to you as well, because it seems to be we have conflicting views on who the greatest hero is. You know,
Okay.
I put out I put out there a couple of weeks ago. I would debate anybody who wants to tell me that Toussaint is not the world's greatest hero of all times, and you know, I welcome you to that debate. You know, soon. You know, because not, you know, I'm not downplaying Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Lieutenant Dessalines, by any means. Like, I have much respect for him. You know, and I love what he did by, you know, expounding the French from out of Haiti. You know, coupe tete boule kai, which is Creole for cut heads off and burn the houses. So he was definitely a cutthroat individual. But I would say this: Toussaint, he had an international mindset. So he was thinking about Haiti's future, and he understood the global commerce. You know, when I was in college, and you know, I can't remember what book or if the professor said this or I read it in a college book, but Toussaint was educated in France because he was going to school with the slave master's son. So he was learning. You know, he was like his assistant. So he was learning, you know, politics and war, and he was learning about books by Renaud and Julius Caesar. I knew he read those books, but I believe he, you know, so he had a sense of what was happening, you know, in the world, and Dessalines was probably only confined to Haiti. Like, he never got out of Haiti. You know, he never got off the island. But we could talk about that further if you accept the challenge. Because
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I would say that Toussaint Louverture was a very important political strategist, you know. But the soldier, the intrepid, you know, the guy, you know, Toussaint was very skillful in terms of military tactic also. Yeah, but the problem with the narrative on Jean-Jacques Dessalines is that it's just now we are having some books on Dessalines. We didn't have access to Dessalines, or they just gave us a bias, you know, a biased narrative on Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So there is a Jean-Jacques Dessalines that Haitian people and people of Haitian descent must and should discover, you know, by their own. Use that decolonial perspective, that decolonial education that I mentioned in my introduction.
Okay. Well, I definitely appreciate that. So thanks for sharing that. And if you want to talk about this maybe in a couple of weeks, and we give a, you know, full scale presentation on because honestly, the only person I can really think of that I can compare to General Toussaint as a global hero and leader would be Shaka Zulu. You know, but that's just my opinion. But let me ask you, let's get on with the questions, because I know we could go back and forth, because you know a lot more than I do. But I know quite a bit, especially when it comes to Toussaint and just, you know, just revolution period. And as a matter of fact, what I like about Lieutenant Dessalines is the fact that he reminds me a lot of, thank you. He reminds me a lot of Nat Turner. Because Nat Turner, they don't talk about Nat Turner in the history books too much because of the ferociousness he attacked Europeans. And Dessalines did the same thing. As a matter of fact, Nat Turner was inspired. You know, Nat Turner of Virginia, he was inspired by the Haitian Revolution. And, you know, the leaders, General Toussaint and Dessalines. So, and not just him, Denmark VC. There's many other revolutions. John Brown, a lot of people don't never heard about John Brown. You know, a white guy who was actually tried to fight on behalf of the enslaved Africans. So we have beautiful history. A lot of people just don't know about. But let me ask you another question regarding more current events on what's going on in Haiti. What's your opinion, or what do you know about what's happening in Haiti regarding President Jovenel Moise regarding the Constitution? Because we were told, and there's tons of articles about it, that he's trying to change the Constitution. Now, I know he tried to have the referendum for the June 27th, which wasn't successful, because finally Joe Biden wanted to say something about the the turmoil going on in Haiti, and that supposedly he's the leader or in charge of all the turmoil. Now, everything on in Haiti is not his fault. I know some of our listeners, whether on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, YouTube, there are some President Maurice supporters, which is cool. I know he's not the catalyst of everything that's going on in Haiti, because there's a lot of foreign powers involved. You got the U.S. government who literally run Haiti. So every president for the past, I don't know how many years, how many decades, were appointed and selected by the U.S. government. Let's make that clear. You got France, who literally destroyed Haiti at the beginning of their independence with that 150 reparations, and then that's how you going to charge us for our freedom? And we, it's crazy that they wanted it. They actually did it. There's an article, I want to say the Washington Post, but before the show's over with, I have to correct whoever published the article. But the article I read, it was called the reparations, French reparations of Haiti, the greatest hijacking of all time, something like that. It was a wild title like that, and I was like, let me give you the exact name of this title, because some people may want to actually look this up. And it was a great article. I have it on my computer. It was Haiti's greatest hijacking of all time. What's the name of this article? They won. I'm gonna have it here, but I'm gonna pull it up. But let's carry on. I'm gonna make sure I reference it, because I want everybody to read this article, because it explains in great detail. Haiti didn't just all of a sudden, just out the blue become, in the state that it's in right now. Haiti used to be a very vibrant, like all around, and for the record, not all of Haiti is Tetomba. Tetomba means upside down. In Port-au-Prince and selected areas, but it's enough people dying. One person being killed or murdered is one too many in my book. But the president, with the Patrick Carib oil, that scandal going on with the money that President Chavez, who's a big supporter of Haiti and Haitian, was loaning Haiti money, but not money, but it was something dealing with oil. Like he gave, instead of loaning money to Haiti and many other countries, they gave oil, because Venezuela is one of the richest oil reserves in definitely this side of the world. I find it troubling, because I wasn't sure, because obviously I don't live in Haiti. I live in Atlanta. I'm from Fort Lauderdale. I wasn't sure, but whether or not Moise is somebody I can trust, or do I like? As a matter of fact, before he actually was selected to be president, I was in Haiti where he did a rally. I was what a statue in Haiti where the Battle of Tyr is Haitian. I was right there, literally taking pictures next to the statues. Statues of General Toussaint Louverture, he's on Dessalines, Harry Christophe, and I think someone else, and they have a lady. And literally, he comes in a truck and on a microphone, streets with people passing by handling business. I mean, literally, as soon as he appeared on the scene, you see hundreds of people, then thousands of people surrounding him, shouting his name. So that was powerful, because that just happened out of nowhere, and I was just chilling. But when I found out, this was 2016, but when I found out that he was trying to change the Constitution so that no president would be faced, would face any kind of criminal charges during their presidency, even after they leave office, they'll be indemnified for any criminal charges, criminal activity. I was like, what? Like, why would you even want that? Why would that even come out your mouth? Why would you want that to be a law? So I want to ask you, is that true, or is that something that people are making up? Because I know he wanted to have a referendum, but I was just trying to find out whether or not that was true, that he was trying to do that to the Constitution.
Yeah, actually, so I am a very responsible scholar and and try to be very objective in my opinion. That's why I shared with you an article that I get published. It was 2 weeks ago or 1 month ago by the Georgetown Journal of International Affairs by Georgetown University, one of the most prestigious journal in the field of international relations. And the title of my article was Understanding Haiti through the Social Forces in Interaction. In that article, I explained that the same way that last year on May 25th, the former police officer, Derek Chauvin, put his knees on the neck of George Floyd. So since Haiti inception in 1804, the international community also has put its feet on the neck of Haiti. So it would be very irresponsible. Jovenel Moïse came into power in 2017 to make Jovenel Moïse the responsible for the historical problem of Haiti, as I explained in my article, because you mentioned, for instance, the fact that France, but with the consensus of the international community, in 1725, they forced our ancestor to pay more than $20 billion. At that time, it was 150,000 francs. So the current equivalent of more than $21 billion in current currency. So then we have the U.S. occupation of Haiti from 1915 to 1934. And one of the first moves that the U.S. made in Haiti was to take the gold reserve of Haiti from the National Bank of Haiti and to transfer that to the National City Bank of New York. Actually, the reserve of gold of Haiti did a booster to Wall Street, right? So, so we have a many things. Then we had the U.S. after the occupation from 1934 to 1956 have been supporting all mulattoes president against the will of the Haitian people, and then from 1957 to 1986, the U.S. has supported the dictatorship, the dynasty of the Duvalier with François Papa Dog Duvalier and Jean-Claude Baby Dog Duvalier. Then also after that dictatorship, the U.S. Gave support to the military in power. So Jovenel Moïse came just in 2017. So we have, in order to understand the historical problem, to look at the action of the international community, and more specifically, the bad thing that the U.S. did in Haiti, because we cannot just focus on the internal actors without paying a close attention to those external actors. Now, with Jovenel Moïse, remember you said that in the introduction.
Yes, sir.
All the constitution of Haiti until the last constitution of 1889, all of them mention that no white man can own land in this territory. So the U.S. during the first occupation of Haiti in between 1915 and 1934, for instance, in 1917, they did a change in the constitution. They did a referendum in the constitution, and then they changed that. So because they need, for instance, the U.S., this is a country that theoretically claim to be a democracy, right? and they always requires a legal justification for their action. So they made legal in the change they did in the constitution, Haitian constitution, that white men can own land in the country. So let's say between 1804 until the first change that the US did in the constitution of 1917, many Haitian black people, because black people, we constitute 95% of the population, the land of Haiti belonged to us. But from the first occupation of Haiti, there has been a progressive, process to, take us out of the land. So now we have, before talking about Jovenel Moïse, black people, what we own in Haiti, we don't have sovereignty. So I think there is a struggle for the restoration of the full sovereignty of Haitian people. We don't own the market. We don't own the company. We don't own electricity. We don't own, telecommunication. So we don't own, the food industry. We don't own anything. The banking system is in the hands of foreigners. So Jovenel Moïse, remember the context in which Jovenel Moïse came into power. Jovenel Moïse was someone who was totally unknown for the Haitian population. It was Michel Joseph Martelly, aka Sweet Mickey, the former president, who introduced Jovenel Moïse as an entrepreneur, So Jovenel Moïse, and remember, who sponsored Michel Martelly to become president of the US, and there are a lot of literature on that. It was the US through Hillary Rodham Clinton, because back at that time, Hillary Rodham Clinton, former First Lady, was US Secretary of State. And Hillary Rodham Clinton, as US Secretary of State, went to Haiti and, to instruct the then president, René Préval, that this is the guy, Michel Martelly, that he wants to be in power. So you see, you can have election, but if you don't own your election, if Haitian people don't have, economic ownership, if the US, the international community, is still supporting, sponsoring our election, they will always mess up with us, and they will put in power the people that are convenient to them. They will put in power the people that are convenient to them. So Jovenel Moïse, for instance, is someone who is not prepared for the task of being a president. Because remember, if we go back to the classical literature in political science, Niccolo Machiavelli published a book titled The Prince. In that book, Niccolo Machiavelli explained that politics is a science. Politics is a profession. So it is time for us Haitian people to have people with know-how, with science, to hold political office, the highest political office. What's happened in the US? For instance, we had every time we have crisis in the US, one of the most recent crises was the crisis of 2007. What the elite did in the US, they went and they picked a guy named Barack Hussein Obama, a guy who graduated from Harvard University, to help them to fix the problem. So we should also follow the same path, the same pattern. We have very, very important talent in Haitian folk, both in Haiti, in the diaspora. Why always we should have, musicians, artists, people who are barely literate to be the president of Haiti? So Jovenel Moïse, I don't have a specific problem with him, but Jovenel Moïse is not prepared for the task of becoming a president, because becoming a president to lead requires know-how. First. Second, Jovenel Moïse was not elected by the Haitian population. Jovenel Moïse had at the very beginning a problem of political legitimation. For instance, in 2016, the electoral population of Haiti was, let's say, about 7 million people. Guess what? Only Jovenel Moïse became president with 500,000 votes. This is not enough to become president in a country in which the electoral population is made of more than 7 million, right? So this is one of the problems. And the US also, Jovenel Moïse want to change the constitution, but what is a constitution? And I publish work and explain that in a constitution is just a letter of intention. So, but what happened in Haiti is usually corrupted president, corrupted politician, they had a certain tendency to blame a constitution. They say, oh, we cannot govern with that constitution because that constitution, for instance, the Constitution of 1987, is a potential source of instability. But no constitution can be a potential source of instability because a constitution is just a sheet of paper. No constitution will have the capacity to materialize by itself. Any constitution, no constitution is perfect. That's why, for instance, since 1787, we had a constitution in the US, and guess what? We had 27 amendments in the US Constitution because society is always in a process of evolution. Society is always in a process of transformation. So that's why you have to have certain amendments in the Constitution. But in Haiti, we have a good Constitution. The Constitution of March 1987. For instance, the Constitution of March 1987 say school should be free, education should be free, the state should be able to put, health services at the service of the citizen, decent housing. So the Constitution in the section F on decentralization talk about the importance to have in every department, service of to provide water, potable water, to provide, all the social services that the Haitian people need in order to live a decent life. But from 1987 to 2021, no president actually did their best in order to use the resources, the money, in order to materialize the very important idea that we can find in the Haitian Constitution. The 1987 Constitution of Haiti is not perfect, but is a constitution also that contemplates what we call in political science accountability. So the administration of Jovenel Moïse, since the administration of Jovenel Moïse is the emanation, because Jovenel Moïse came into power under the umbrella of a political party called PHTK, Parti Haïtien Tête Calée. The political party of bad health,
Is that his organization?
PHTK.
Right.
PHTK, the Haitian party of bad hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and he's using his political influence in order to cover up, because as you mentioned, Haiti, since its inception, was a country that has manifested great solidarity with all nations. For instance, the flag, the first national flag of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela was built in the port of Jacmel. Jacmel is in the southeast of Haiti. So when Hugo Chavez Frias became president of Venezuela. So Hugo Chavez Frias was a military, and he was someone well educated. So Hugo Chavez Frias knew that in 1815 and 1816, Simon Bolivar went to Haiti, and our ancestor provide to Simon Bolivar the resources that Simon Bolivar needed in order to make the independence of La Gran Colombia, the independence in Bolivia, the independence of Venezuela, the independence of Ecuador, and the independence I mentioned of Colombia, right? So, and to Hugo Chavez Frias, in order to continue with that tradition and to compensate Haiti, Hugo Chavez Frias established with the government of René Préval, then president, an agreement called Petro-Caribe. But guess what? From 2008, 2009 to 2016, all the presidents, including René Préval, Michel Joseph Martelly, Jocelyn Privert, all, misuse the fund of Petro-Caribe. And in Haiti now, we have the youth, we have, young folk, professional young folk, who are trying to hold accountable the elected official. So Jovenel Moïse, what he's trying to do with the constitution is to cover up for his friend from the PHTK party, because Laurent Lamotte, Michel Martelly, and all the tribe of PHTK, they have a great implication in the mismanagement of the fund that was provided by Hugo Chavez Frias for the development of Haiti. This is what is at play in Haiti now.
Right, and the pressure has been on him for some years regarding this scandal. And if I'm correct, it was about $4 billion that was mismanaged.
That's why. That's more or less.
That's an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
So, and I like what you mentioned earlier, because I have these books. I haven't had a chance to read them completely. There's one book called Culture of Corruption, which talks about former President Obama's, whole corruption and scandals behind the scene. There's another book called Clinton's Corruption, by another author, and I can tell you what the name of that author is in a second. And by the way, while you was talking, I found that article is by a website called The Conversation. The title was "When France Extorted Haiti: The Greatest Heist in History." So I placed the link on the YouTube comment. So, please check that article out. And also, the article that you wrote, and I don't want to just fly by it before I say what I want to say. That article was really good. I actually read it twice. So I like the title of the article, and I placed it in the comments if you guys didn't see it. It's called "Understanding Haiti Through the Power of Social Forces in Interaction," written by Dr. Jean-Eddy St. Paul. And I had a couple questions regarding the article. I don't know if we have time to go over it.
Yes, no problem. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I like the fact that you mentioned in the article a lot about the international community. It's almost as if you were pleading for the international community to get involved with what's going on in Haiti, instead of turning, turning away, looking away from what's happening, because when and just to the little comparison with the past, I felt that the international community, turned their backs on Toussaint, because they, not just Toussaint, but the Haitian Revolution. The reason why I say that is, Frederick Douglass. We all know Frederick Douglass, who was one of the greatest orators, abolitionists. It took me a long time to learn how to say abolitionist, by the way. I actually try to avoid saying that word, even with a college degree, believe it or not. But I love his story. He said something very profound regarding, the Haitian Revolution, and I'm gonna, and this is why I make that statement that the international community failed Haiti then, and we are failing Haiti now. But now King Kevin Dorval is in the building, so I'm not gonna let this happen on my watch. So we definitely doing something about it, other than just talking. But Frederick Douglass has said this. He said, when they struck for freedom, they built They built it better than they knew. Their swords were not drawn and could not be drawn simply for themselves alone. They were linked and interlinked with their race and striking for their freedom. They struck for the freedom of every black man and woman in the world. Now, Frederick Douglass said this. Frederick Douglass was also going to move to Haiti. As a matter of fact, before the Civil War in what year did the Civil War started? 1863, 1862 in America. Before the Civil War started, Frederick Douglass was packing to move to Haiti. He'd been to Haiti several times already. He loved the country. The one is free black people doing their own thing. So he loved the country. As a matter of fact, Haiti was known as freedom land. If you were able to escape the plantations from wherever you was at, whether you was in the colonies of the United States, or you was in the Caribbean or wherever, you was oppressed. If you were able to escape and break free, you get to Haiti, you were free. So a lot of Americans, enslaved Africans that were in America, moved to Haiti. Even Jamaica, the governor in Jamaica, can't recall his name at the moment, but when he heard about the revolution, he was trying to help support the French government and making sure this stopped, the blacks did not win. As a matter of fact, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington both $250,000 back in the late 18th century. I want to say 1790, 92, 93, but it was very important for their economy that slavery continues. All European countries were built on the backs of our ancestors, all of them. Belgium, King Leopold, France, with Napoleon, and even before Napoleon, with the sugar, the indigo. 50% of the world's sugar came from Haiti. I want to say 60. 40% of the cotton or indigo? It was coffee. Coffee came from Haiti. So, as a matter of fact, France would not be France if it wasn't for Haiti. America would not be America if it wasn't for Haiti. And these countries, and I mention these countries because the international community, of course, France had a group called Brothers of the Negro. If I'm not mistaken, that was their name. It was an organization built on, like when you lobby in Congress, they were lobbying, in the assembly in France to end slavery, and moving forward, you have what other country I want to mention? You mentioned Venezuela, Mr. Bolivar. What Salvador? Is that how you say his name?
No. It was at that time. It was called La Gran Colombia, right? And that include Colombia, of course, Ecuador, and Venezuela. But with the aid provided by both Jean-Jacques Dessalines, because when Francisco Miranda went to Haiti, Dessalines received Miranda, and then when Dessalines passed away, Simon Bolivar went to Haiti twice in 1815 and 1816. And Bolivar was received back by Alexandre Pétion. So, and Alexandre Pétion gave to Bolivar what he needed to make the political independence of Gran Colombia. And with that aid, Bolivar was able to establish, this Bolivia is for the name of Bolivar, Bolivia is for Haiti, the help of Haiti. Colombia is for the help of Haiti, Ecuador, and Venezuela. And if you go, because I completed my master's degree in Latin American studies in Bogota, Colombia, if you go to any of those countries, you will find this the statue of Alexandre Pétion and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And just to tell you how great Jean-Jacques Dessalines was, it was Jean-Jacques Dessalines who actually sent a letter to Thomas Jefferson to ask Thomas Jefferson, so I will pay you a such amount of money for every Negro that I purchase. Because remember, in the 1805 Constitution, it says So no, all people will be now known under the generic denomination of black. So Dessalines actually encouraged the migration of black people all around the world, and more specifically of African American people, to Haiti. As a matter of fact, Alexander Du Bois, the great father of W.E.B. Du Bois, went to Haiti in that program, and Alfred Du Bois, the father of W.E.B. Du Bois, Alfred Du Bois was born in Haiti. And then Alfred Du Bois moved back to the US and got W.E.B. Du Bois, who was born in Great Barrington in the state of Massachusetts. So to tell you, throughout the 19th century, Haiti was a very welcome place for every black people, because it was the only place in the hemisphere that black people can fully live as a human being. Wow. With their full dignity. Okay, but Dessalines was the one who initiated all that political process. To give you an idea, right, when we have a debate on Dessalines, what you can expect from me.
Yeah, I love it. As a matter of fact, what you mentioned, I believe Dessalines was offering $40 per enslaved African for freedom. Which probably was, I don't know.
The number, I won't say 40 or 50, but I know that you put a specific amount of money in order to purchase the freedom of every black people from Thomas Jefferson.
And I love the fact that you said that, because it ties back to what I was saying. Like, Haiti was such a free place that people can be free, and it was productive. The energy was off the chain. The food is good. But for these other countries not to come into Haiti to help protect it from these foreigners, from the French, from America, from the Britain, I felt as if if you knew that this country, Haiti, you could be free, led by, General Toussaint Louverture and his lieutenant and Henry Christophe. Why not come do whatever you can to get there, so that we can protect it, so that we can be free forever?
Sometimes we remember, Kevin,
yes, sir,
we are having that discussion in 2021, when now you can have me in Brooklyn and someone who is in New Mexico with a device can watch us and participate, interact with us. But the world was not the same in 1804. Remember that transportation, transportation was a big deal. And remember, always we have had an international community. The world, in racialized capitalism always has existed. You had, those empires, US, those important political power, US, Spain, Portugal, England. So all those countries, those powerful nations, they built their wealth on slavery. Right? So when Haiti got into independence, don't think that the nation who opened their arms and to welcome Haiti. No. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, since the very beginning, the Haitian Revolution was interpreted as a threat for the prosperity of all those powerful nations, because the basis for their wealth was slavery. And the Haitian Revolution, happened against slavery. So actually, before we talk about the forced payment that France, coerced Haiti to do in 1825, since 1805, the first economic embargo was put on Haiti by the United States of America, by the US Congress. So we have to understand the dynamic of power, how the international power work in that specific context. And it's like the same policy that has been the same foreign policy that has been always applies against Haiti. Now you have all those things that are happening in Haiti. What is the position of the U.S. Embassy in Haiti? What is the position of the U.S. Department of State? What is the position of the U.S. Senate? What is the position of POTUS, of Biden? It's the same position, always nuanced, but is based on the interest of the U.S. And the interests of the U.S., unfortunately, do not coincide with the interests of the Haitian population. But who have the power? We don't have army. We cannot fight against the U.S. What we can do is to use diplomacy. But to do diplomacy, you need to have people with knowledge in the highest political position. We don't have that in Haiti, and the U.S. has.
You in Haiti? Haiti, man.
No, you don't need me. Haiti need me for what I'm doing, but we need a team because we have a potential. What is our potential? Remember, at the beginning of this conversation, I quote Chancellor Williams. And Chancellor Williams said that we Black people don't expect that the white folk will do the job for us. If we continue to operate according to selfishness, if we continue to reproduce the individualism and we do not embrace solidarity, we do not embrace intra-ethnic solidarity, we do not embrace, communitarianism, we won't survive. But guess what? In Haiti, we have that philosophy. For instance, the farmer in Haiti, they use what we call combit, escouade, la cour. We have that philosophy of togetherness, but we are not putting that philosophy into practice. So Jean-Eddy St. Paul, as someone who is a sociologist, knowledgeable in political science, in Latin American studies and other fields. So I am a scholar, I'm an intellectual first and foremost. I am here to help people to think about policy in Haiti. But we need a team, because I don't need to be president of Haiti. I can continue with my job as a university professor, but serving as an advisor of someone who can be president. But that person should have a team. We should have, what we call in Creole, équipe. We should have a team. Because, a team with a vision, a team of people interested in politics, but people in their daily life who practice what we call in sociology ethics of responsibility. People who will see them as public servants. Unfortunately, the current people we have in power in Haiti, they are not public servants, because public servant came from two terms, servant, public, public is not private. The state is not private. And servant came from Latin, that means slave. So when you are a public servant, you committed yourself to a cause. You give yourself totally to a cause. You are not using power for your benefit. You use power to serve others. So this is the kind of political culture, ethics, and morality we have to restitute to politics in order to heal Haiti and to make the country better. But no one person, but a team working on a project on midterm and long, short-term, midterm, and long-term. But it's not about individuality; it's about teamwork.
And you know what? I love the fact you said that, because it reminds me so much of what Marcus Garvey used to always say. You know what I mean? If you think the white man a white woman is going to help you out of the situation, you're going to be waiting a very long time. It's about nationhood, nation building. Dr. Amos Wilson also talks about that. He's a Black psychologist that I mentioned to you before. I want to repeat your bio again, just for the record. So don't worry, we're not shutting down yet, Dr. St. Paul. I just want to make sure, because some people probably missed. They're probably wondering who is this intellectual that that's talking with King Kevin on this recording. Dr. Jean Eddie St. Paul is a professor in sociology at Brooklyn College of the City University of New York, where he was the founding director of the CUNY, C-U-N-Y, Haitian Studies Institute. He previously was a visiting scholar at the Institute of Political Sciences, PO, in Paris, France, and served on the faculty of the Division of Law, Politics and Government, and the Universidad de Guanajuato. How do you say that?
Guanajuato.
Okay, Guanajuato. I know it wasn't Guantanamo, but Guanajuato.
No, Guanajuato in Mexico.
Okay, definitely. Where he co-founded the PhD program in law, politics, and government. Law, politics, and government. And you can email him at GeneEddie.StPaul@Brooklyn CUNY.edu. I'm gonna put his do you want me to put your email out there, or you just want to?
No problem.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the comments. And for those who missed the first 30 minutes of the show, this is Dr. St. Paul's email that I put in there. In the article I shared as well, he wrote a great article. Again, I'm going to repeat it again. I shared it several times on my Twitter. As a matter of fact, if you listen to us, I don't care where you at in the world, please share, like, retweet, whatever you got to do. Let people hear this message that what we were saying. And I agree with you 100% that it is an individual type of task, but we do need people who have the spirit of General Toussaint Louverture, who was a servant of his people to the day he died. And of course, you're gonna need some Dessalines in there, some Henry Christophe, King Henry Christophe in there as well. But the issue that I have here right now with what's going on in Haiti is the fact that you mentioned there's no army. Now, if you can't defend yourself, then you open for attack. The wolves are gonna attack you. Period. And that's what's going on in Haiti right now. When the U.S. Marines occupied Haiti in 1915, one of the things that they did to cripple the economy of Haiti was that they took 500,000, I believe either it was gold or was it money, but it was $500,000. I read an article that said gold, other one said it was money, but they went straight to the Haitian bank and took 500,000. I believe it was in gold, and took it straight to New York. That's why Citibank is part of the culprits who are in and robbing Haiti. So if you got an account with Citibank, I suggest you stop that account.
But also it's important also for the folk who are listening to us to understand that in the current struggle of again systemic racism, all the topic of reparation. Also, this is also something that we should articulate. When I say we should. We will need a time in which we will have decent politicians with ethics of responsibility, who can have a sincere and frank conversation with American politicians in order to establish procedure for economic reparation for Haitian people too, right?
Right. Oh, no, thank you. I 100% agree with you on that. And, it's just, man, it's like for Haiti to go from glory to the state that it's in now, it's definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, but you mentioned something.
It's not lost.
Yeah, you mentioned something important on army. Any country, you cannot have your sovereignty if you don't have an army. And as a matter of fact, Haiti was created as a military state. So Haiti was never a civil state. It was a military state. So how come our ancestor founded a country, a military state, and now we don't have army. So let's go back again in political science.
Sankofa.
So if we agree that Niccolo Machiavelli book, The Prince, is very important in order to understand politics, Niccolo Machiavelli advised to Lorenzo de Medici, who was the Duke of Toscano in Florence, in Italy. Niccolo Machiavelli said in The Prince, please take care of your army. And because an army is important, because the army is like to protect you against, foreigner, against external enemy and internal enemy. So why the US now, we see geopolitics, right? What is the current position of the US against China? They are not friends. But why the US cannot go and do whatever they want on China?
Because he got like 1 million strong army.
Why the US and Iran, they are not friends. But why the US cannot go, or Iran cannot go and do whatever they want to the US? And the same rationale is valid, for the foreign relation between US and Russia. So when you have a strong army, they respect you. So when you have army, you have also diplomacy. But when diplomacy fail, you use your army. So how come Haiti share an island, the island of Haiti, with Saint-Domingue, and the Dominican Republic has an army and we don't have one? And who will control the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic? You don't have an army. The idea of army is not because you will do a war against the Dominican Republic, but it's about self-respect. If you don't have army, you don't have force, no one will respect you. So we should also, in the project to rebuild Haiti, we in the Haitian people in the diaspora and Haitian people in Haiti, in any project to rebuild Haiti, we should have a strong, important conversation of what kind of army do we have, do we need for Haiti. But it's inconceivable that we have a country that was founded as a military nation, and now we don't have army. Look what is happening with the insecurity in Haiti, because the police cannot solve the problem. Yeah, but what if we had a professional army, Haiti wouldn't be in the chaotic situation that it is now.
And that's a great point, because obviously that's the purpose, And by the way, you keep mentioning Machiavelli, which I'm glad you did that. Toussaint read Machiavelli, right?
Yeah, Toussaint. I know that he read a lot of books, among them a book of l'Abbé Grégoire. So l'Abbé Rénal, I'm sorry, l'Abbé Rénal. So he wrote a lot of books. He was a vivid reader, right? So I don't have that specific information that he read Machiavelli, but possibly he read Machiavelli too.
Yes, and because Machiavelli was a good strategist,
Yes.
For science, and he studied Machiavelli, and that's part of why he thought the way he thought as far as maneuvering, and he would one of the things, because I read Machiavelli, but I didn't read the whole thing. I need to read the whole thing. But he states in his book that it's good to let people think you're here when you're really over here. So he was good at maneuvering through Haiti, because there's always spies watching him. There's people always.
Yeah, and also I think one of the most important book was the book of l'Abbé Rénal. L'Abbé Rénal, because actually all the, for instance, Jean Hegel, that French philosopher, also read l'Abbé Rénal. So the Toussaint Louverture did a lot of things. Because he spent time reading. Yeah, he was well educated. He educated himself too. So that's why now you have Jovenel Moïse. How come we came from Toussaint Louverture to have Jovenel Moïse? We should have, the highest politician, the highest strategist in the highest political position, you know. So
and also economic position.
yeah, definitely. That's why I stress on economic ownership, because we don't own. You know, we are 95% of the population, but what do we own in Haiti? The economy is at the hand of people who are mulattoes, and most of them are not Haitian. They use Haiti as a place to do business. But when things are going bad, they can just close their business and go to their country. The economy is not at the hand of Haitian people.
So how can we change that? How can we stop the oligarchy from running Haiti? These families, these foreigners, you know, because you know, as you know, back in 2010, you know, they found like, was it 40 billion something worth of oil, gold, and reserves in Haiti after the earthquake, which will bring me to another conversation regarding that. I don't think that earthquake was an actual earthquake. That was a man-made earthquake used to dig up oil and gold in Haiti. Chavez made that public. You know, whether or not it's true or not, former President Chavez, rest in peace, who the Cap Haitian airport is named after, he made that statement, you know, that the U.S. military were using this HAARP technology, HAARP, to shake up the earth to make it easier to dig for oil and gold. And hey, earthquake happened. All of a sudden, they find all these wealth and minerals. As a matter of fact, someone asked, you know, in the comments, does the Clintons own land in Haiti? Yes, they own hundreds of acres. As a matter of fact, they actually have a license. I don't remember which president this was under, but they have a license for, I think, 20, 25 years, maybe even some absurd number, 50 years, to continue digging in Haiti for oil and gold. So Haiti has, for those of you who have been brainwashed by the media, you know, many of us have been brainwashed, and we still suffer from Willie Lynch syndrome. Haiti has been portrayed as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, when in fact Haiti is possibly one of the richest countries in the Western Hemisphere. It's just that the U.S., France, Canada, China, these foreign countries understand the wealth and power of our people, because most Haitians come from West Africa. Matter of fact, Toussaint's grandfather came from the country you mentioned, West Africa. Actually, right. But it's Benin now, but it was the homie. It's a warrior kingdom tribe. So these Europeans enslaved the wrong type of people. You know, they enslaved warriors. That's why, with the combination of Toussaint knowing his history, that's why it's important to know your history. The power of him reading books about Renaud, Machiavelli, and reading about Julius Caesar as well. Reading is powerful. So you add that. So you pretty much cooking up dynamite. And so that it did explode, and we got our freedom, you know, but it came with a heavy cost. You know, there's no reason why Haiti shouldn't be extremely productive and caught up with the rest of the world as far as technology and far as infrastructure, because we were one of the first to be free. Look at the Citadel. Look at the Citadel, which is not too far from Cap Haitian, that King Henry Christophe built, you know, back in 1820. Look how powerful that was, and you're right. Haiti was a military state, and we should be able to defend ourselves. That should be in our culture. But the U.S., being that Haiti is right down the street from you know, Florida, they took advantage. They found out the wealth and the minerals in Haiti, and they've been robbing it ever since. And we're still going through that. What we have to do, because we all see many of the problems, we need to come up with a solution, a committee, like you mentioned, Dr. St. Paul. We need to get some sort of committee going to where we're not just sending emails and protesting in Washington. We need to collect an army of scholars and an army of people with AKs and tanks and all of that to kick out the foreigners, especially the U.S., and let the people of Haiti, let our Haitian people, you know, select their own president, like we did with President Aristide, who was the first democratic elected president. We need to get back to that, because right now we're going to continue going through this backward state when Haiti should be way far in advance than Jamaica, way far in advance than Bahamas and Trinidad. Not to knock them off. I got much love for all the Caribbean nations. A lot of my friends from the different parts of the Caribbean, but Haiti should be way far in advance. But if I don't know if you read a book on 40 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Have you read that book?
No, not yet.
They say every U.S. president has read this book. It's by Robert Greene. He wrote several books. Matter of fact, I wrote 3 books as well. And just to put it out there, my next book is coming out in a couple of weeks called The Winner in the Mirror, Activating Your Superpowers, Mind, Body, and Spirit. So please go to my website, kevindover.com, to go and make your order. It's an awesome book. It's inspirational. And it's about what we're talking about, changing a backward mindset to a forward mindset, being proactive. But in his book, Robert Greene, he talked about, to defeat your enemy, you take away their strength. You take away their strength and make it their weakness. So the U.S. and France, seeing that we're a military state, let's take away their military, take away their army, let's take away their strength of defending themselves, which what made them so powerful. Toussaint was a trained soldier. So, and you see what happened, which was the white man's greatest fear at the time. Educated black man got a gun, and he wants freedom. What you gonna do? And you see what she obviously represented. But we need to come up with somehow, some way, as a people. You don't even have to be Haitian. If you black, you in, because we black. We are Africans anyway. One love, black love. We need to come up with a way to stop the U.S. from pillaging and keep sucking the blood of the Haitian people, because they're doing it right now. It can't, like I said, it can't be walking on Washington. It can't be sending emails and posting things on, maybe a few posting things. That does create some buzz, posting and keeping people informed. But we need to be on the soil of Haiti, defending Haiti, and rooting out the corrupted people. Now, of course, easier said than done. But I know what my ancestors did. I know what General Toussaint did. I know what Henry Christophe did. I know what Lieutenant Jean-Jacques Dessalines did. I know what Mackendal and Dudu Bookman did, and it was unity. Unity made them powerful. But we can go on and on and on. You obviously doctor, and you running things in New York, and I'm just an author and hardworking man. But we both share a common passion for our people. So hope we can keep this dialogue going, and maybe what we're saying here tonight hits the airways around the world. I don't care where you at in the world. Please share this video. Do you have a website, Dr. St. Paul?
No, my website is the website of Brooklyn College from the sociology department. Actually, I think that I need to talk to you to work on the strategy to have my own website. I do have my own YouTube channel, my own Instagram, my own Twitter, but I need to put all those my material on the specific website. My publication, my books. So because I have many book, article, book chapter, but in different places. So I need a website in order to put them together, concentrate all together.
I mean, I love to help you with that, because I think a lot more people need to know about you and hear about you and hear what you have to say. Regarding Haiti.
Because I'm a guy who I spent most of my time reading and writing. I am not so into website, but I need someone to to do that for me, because I don't have the skill. But I think I do need a website. But let me chime into what you said. So I think what we have to do in order to reclaim Haiti, right? Because we have an oligarchy. So I don't have like a unidimensional answer to that, but I do have a recipe, right? And in my recipe, I think first thing that we need to do is that to have Haitian both in the diaspora and in the motherland, that is in Haiti, to continue the struggle, because it's a struggle. Remember when Haiti was born in 1804, we was born in the context of struggle. So the struggle continue, but we need Haitian people, both in the diaspora and in the motherland, to continue the struggle to recuperate the sovereignty of Haiti. And the sovereignty of Haiti, the international community want one day cross their arm and say, you know, Haitian people, do whatever you want with your country. Because as you mentioned earlier, Haiti is not a poor country. The international community has managed the rhetoric of Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But it's not that true, because if you go, let's say, go to the website of the Department of Mine in Haiti, you know, le Department des Mines, the Department of Mine, lists all the resources that Haiti has. It just put Haiti natural resources on Google. You will see a bunch of articles published in The Economist about what the country has, you know. So the wealth of Haiti is not something that is hidden now. People who are knowledgeable know what we have in Haiti, right? So if Haiti was so poor, why one of the most important embassies of the US is located in Haiti?
The most expensive one.
Yeah, why? You know, so why if Haiti was so poor, why in every state of the US people are looking for Haitian mango? Why we do have that much mango that we are exporting throughout the world? You know, Haiti is not a poor country. Haiti is a country that has been impoverished. There is a difference between being poor and being impoverished. Sure, no, but that narrative is very convenient for the international community. But Haiti is not a poor country. So we need also people, both in Haiti and in the diaspora, that can do lobby. Lobby is important also. Lobby is important because what we are doing in education to spread the, to promote counter narrative, because we have been brainwashed with a colonial education. We do need to continue to have those conversations inscribed into a decolonial education, right? So, also is important, we need to have in the diaspora in Haiti people who are strong advocates for the cause of Haiti, people who are able to build coalition. Because as, for instance, some Pan-Africanists mentioned, now Haitian people should look for intra-ethnic solidarity with African American people, with Black people, with Black in Africa, you know, to speak a same voice, a same language, you know. Haitian people shouldn't isolate themselves, you know, in their just only Haitianity, right? So we need to have more intra-ethnic solidarity. We need also to have more and more intellectual, scholar, artists, activists, and professionals committed to the defense of the interests of Haiti. So the task will be multidimensional. We need artists, activists, intellectual, scholar, you know, to defend the interests of Haiti, both in Haiti and the diaspora. We need also to have a certain control of the political system, but we won't have that control of the political system if we do not have economic ownership. Economic ownership. Economic ownership is the key. So we Haitian people, we should work together in order to live up economically, right? Because who have the money, you know, influence politics. If we have money, we put our money together, we can reshape the political system. And also we need to find a strategy to neutralize the dinosaur of the private sector of business, who are the most repugnant economic elite that have been operated in the country. So, but we cannot neutralize them if we don't have also that economic ownership that we need in the country. And we need also to embrace the spirit of solidarity, to work together, to design good strategies, right? To design good strategies to reclaim our land, to reclaim our territory. We will need also to embrace unity and to reject the culture of suspicion in order to make it happen. So, and finally, we need trust, solidarity, unity. We can find, if we can find a symbiosis between high qualified professionals, both in Haiti and in the diaspora, it will take time, but the change, the process of change in Haiti can happen. Kevin. Yeah, this is my thought on this to answer your question. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it seems that I lost you.
Oh, I was listening the whole time.
Okay.
What I was asking you, you couldn't hear me. What you're saying is brilliant, and I was asking, and do you have this published? But you said this is your personal notes. I heard you say.
No, so it's my personal note. Yeah,
because I'm really I think it's brilliant. I would love to actually read that. I'm sure other people would like to read it as well. Because you know.
Because I do research, I'm constantly taking note and doing, because political sociology is one of my field of specialization. So I have many research in the paper, book chapter, book in process, but after we can have another conversation on that, because I need also strategy to get my things published, sooner than later too.
But talk to me, man, because I mentioned I published 3 books. I have I think 4 websites right now. For different things that I do. Particularly as a matter of fact, definitely make sure we talk about that so I can help you publish what you're trying to publish in your website. One of my newest websites. I said this at the beginning of the show. I know most people who are on listening right now didn't hear what we were saying in the beginning. The painting behind me. This is a painting of Napoleon Bonaparte. That painting is a painting that I actually purchased at an auction last year, right before COVID hit. And the reason why I mentioned that painting is because I have a press release that's getting ready to release. Now, a lot of people ask me, why do you have I just put this painting in my room, in my office. It's been about maybe a week. It usually was in my hallway. But people ask me, why do you have a white man on a white horse in your background? As I mentioned, it's because this was the arch enemy of the world's greatest hero. I know Dr. St. Paul won't agree with me on that one. So I feel as if I captured the enemy, And the reason I bring this up, I have a website coming out called divinebooksandart.com. And this art piece, I have several art pieces. This is just the biggest one and probably the most expensive one. I have several art pieces, but this new website and this painting I'm using to promote art. I'm using it also as the press release I have coming out is called this Haitian Descendant Captures Napoleon Bonaparte's Painting. And the article talks about a little about Haiti, little Napoleon, and of course General Toussaint. But it mainly focuses on that I'm selling this painting to benefit the children of Haiti. So I'm going to auction off this painting. I'm not sure what the total price is now, but you can see it on my main website, kevindorver.com. It's a large, beautiful painting. It's like 72 by 48. You have to have like a mansion, really. And I'm not in a mansion yet to have a painting like this because it literally takes over your whole wall. But I'm using the money to benefit the children of Haiti because we have a school. We don't have the school yet, but we have a building for a school in Cap Haitien. It's a small community called Payat. The Node Payat, which is in the country town outside of Cap Haitien. And so we have the building, we have 3 acres. So I want to actually, because my mom, rest in peace, Queen Rosette Pierre, she left me a house in Haiti, you know, and 3 acres of land. So I want to build out that house into a educational center, and also give out school supplies and whatever else our people need in that community. And I went there and I seen it myself. So I'm already a visionary, you know, just like a great General Toussaint was. And so I have a vision for what I want to do with the school. But also there's another school near Port-au-Prince that one of my colleagues, they're trying to finish completing. So once we be able to sell this painting, then we can use those funds, and we're going to do a GoFundMe as well. So you can go to my website, kevindover.com, or Books and Art, divinebooksandart.com, which I'll put that link there. The website is not fully complete, but it's like 95% complete. We're just making sure that people can place their orders on the site right now. It's called divinebooksandart.com. And so we're going to launch it next week. And so that's what we're doing. On top of that, we're using this painting and many other paintings I have for the museum that we want to build here in Atlanta. The Rosette Pierre Creative Arts Center, which is a center that we're going to have in Atlanta to help at-risk youth have something to do outside of, you know, going to the gym, playing football, getting in trouble, which is supporting the school to prison pipeline. So we're working hard to you know, overturn that through our nonprofit organization, Courage to Believe International. So I do have the nonprofit is Courage to Believe International. We do have a 501c3, so all donations are tax exempt. So we're hoping to get a allocated building this year in Atlanta to, you know, facilitate this program, because the kids going to learn, the students going to learn. Well, let me call them scholars. The scholars are going to learn how to write their own books and publish it. You know, obviously my experience in publishing and writing, so we're going to help them do that, because our youth have a lot of stories. And Atlanta has a lot of Haitian kids, has a lot of African Americans, has a lot of kids from Jamaica. So we want to get the urban youth into thinking about their future and becoming entrepreneurs. So they're going to write their own books, they're going to write their own films and produce them. They're also going to learn the artistry of cooking. You know, cooking is the art as well. So this art center, Rosette Pierre Art Center, Queen Rosette Pierre Art Center, is going to launch hopefully by the end of 21, because we really going full steam with this, Dr. St. Paul. I'm talking about full steam. You're going to think I'm running for president in a couple of months. So there's a lot of things cooking, and we're working diligently to get things in order before we make it public. Someone asked me for my email. I'm going to give them my email as well. And so, yeah, that's what I have going on. And I want to know, outside of the article and the books that you have, is there anything you wanted to share with the public before we end the night? I know you got a family, you got wife and kids. Your wife is probably, you know, cursing you out in the background. So I don't want you to get no trouble. I don't need you sleeping on the couch. I need you to continue working on the great things you're doing, Dr. St. Paul.
Yeah. So no, you can share my article and people. You guys feel free to share the article also in your network to have more people reading it. So unfortunately, I am not, you know, so entrepreneurial as Kevin. So I don't have my own website. I have my institutional website where you can find more of my academic information, but I do need I have my YouTube channel. If you put my name, Haitis Sankofa, you can find my YouTube channel. There are many videos. Some are in Creole, Haitian Creole, other in French, some in Spanish, and some in English. Right. So, but I think that Kevin will help me to have my own website, and I have many projects cooking for you, and I will keep you posted about my upcoming book. Yes, the book that I'm working on now.
Do you have a title for that book?
So I am working on a book on political corruption. I am doing another book on racism and social theory, how they have the use of racism in order to, for instance, promote sociology. So I'm working on many projects. So yes, I have to give one priority, but I'm working. I read a lot, and I have many book projects on in the making.
Man, I think that's awesome. You know, you even inspired me to write some more books. But I have some other responsibilities. But everything you mentioned earlier regarding what we need to do, and you know, I'm gonna say this in closing. You know, with the lobbying, someone asked, "How can we start lobbying?" Before, can you answer that question quickly, please?
Okay, lobbying is like, you know, politics. Everything is important because politics shapes everything.
Yeah.
For instance, now, guys, if you can see, there has been recently a certain tendency to have some progressive, you know, in the Congress, in the House of Representative and in the U.S. Congress. So, for instance, recently in the House of Representatives, they have a Black caucus on Haiti. That caucus is made by, you know, Ilan Homar and others, Ayanna Presley. So I think that we need more and more progressive people to enter in the field of politics. And also, politics is about alliance, to identify in Congress who can be our potential alliance. Because Washington, the U.S. Department of State and Washington play a key role in everything that is going on in Haiti. I recall that I reviewed a book that was published in 2017. The title of the book was Who Owns Haiti? That book was written by Robert Bob Maguire. Bob Maguire, Who Owns Haiti? People, Power, and Sovereignty. And in that book, Who Owns Haiti? People, Power, and Sovereignty, Robert Maguire explained the role of the international community, the role of lobby, you know, in everything that is going on in Haiti. So, you know, the actor that are playing to maintain the status quo in Haiti, they invest a lot of money in doing lobby in Washington. So also the progressive, we do need to lobby. I am not saying that we have to invest a lot of money, but we can invest our intellectual capital to lobby also on the cause of Haiti, because it's about alliance, it's about politics, it's about the decision that have been taken, that they have been taken in Washington on behalf of Haitian people. So, and I think the progressive in the diaspora, we should have a federation of the diaspora, but made by progressive, in order to lobby on behalf of Haitian people, to provide good information on what is going on in Haiti on the ground, for instance, could be very helpful for the cause, for advancing the cause of sovereignty of Haitian people.
Right, and you know, when it comes to lobbying, you know, everybody sees what's going on with Haiti with the news and people, you know, posting videos and things are going on, whether it's positive or negative. Haiti is a beautiful country. Like most people have no idea how gorgeous Haiti is and just the energy there, you know, on the island. It's an island country, but they only show the poor and poverty, but they never show you like the beautiful mountains or the beautiful homes and the streets, the communities that are thriving and doing their thing. But it's up to us. It's up to us to promote Haiti and put that positive light in there and to have dialogues like this. But everything you mentioned, Dr. St. Paul, I'm gonna have to agree with Lieutenant Jean-Jacques Dessalines on this one.
It's okay.
We may have to go back to the old school ways, man. We may have to and really show them what time it is. That's just my opinion, you know. I'm not a man that's you know, advertising violence.
Yeah, my sword is my sword is my pencil and my pen and my paper.
Hey, I feel you. Hey, I have a pen too, but sometimes I resort to the violence people to hear what you're saying. And that's what made Lieutenant Jean-Jacques Dessalines so great, you know, and because he went straight back.
You spent all the program saying he was lieutenant. It was not lieutenant, it was Governor General, Commander Jean-Jacques Dessalines.
Really?
You know, he was lieutenant of Toussaint Louverture, but when they deport Toussaint Louverture, he got his you know,
he got promoted.
Yep, yes. Well, and also to actually to provide a complementary answer to the question regarding lobby,
I mean, yes.
let me just share with you a concrete example, guys. Where during the presidential election, the presidential campaign in 2020, Joseph Robinette Biden, aka Joe Biden, went to Little Haiti in Miami, North Miami, and he took a knee in the Haitian diaspora. Why? It's because if you don't know that, I'm telling you, but if you might know that Florida is a swing state. Sometimes Florida vote for Republican, and other time Florida vote for Democrat.
Right.
So, and there were many things that were at stake in the 2020 election. So Joe Biden with Jill Biden, they went to Little Haiti in North Miami and took a knee and asked, you apologize for what the Clinton administration, even the Obama administration did to Haiti. And he said that he will be a champion for the cause of Haitian.
And he was
but guess what? So when Joe Biden was sworn into the presidency, from February to March, his administration deported to Haiti more people than did the Trump administration in the whole year 2020. Just from February to March 2021, just from February to March 2021,
he increased it.
Joe Biden administration deported to Haiti, and guys, you can check out articles that were published in The Guardian, for instance, or New York Times or Washington Post. He deported to Haiti from February 2021 to March 2021, more Haitian than did Trump throughout the year 2020. So guess what? But many intellectuals, including myself, high intellectual professional activists, we signed a letter, a petition, and with more than 500 signatures, and we put pressure on the Biden administration to redesignate TPS for Haitian people. Well, guess what? With that pressure, he did the redesignation of TPS for Haitian people. So, Washington won't change if our community is not well organized enough to make them ashamed about their policy in Haiti. So that's why I insist in the idea that lobby is very important. And when I say lobby, there are different strategies of lobbying. But definitely lobby is important. We in the diaspora, we have a great role that we can play to change the traditional policy of the U.S. towards Haiti.
Man, to be honest with you, and you're absolutely right. I studied political science when I was in college. I got a bachelor's in that. And lobbying does have its power, especially here in the U.S. But I don't think they care about being ashamed about what they're doing in Haiti. They've been doing it.
No, they are now, because of the moment. They are, yes, because remember now the rhetoric is all about, now it's time for racial justice. So there is politics. Remember, let's go back to Niccolo Machiavelli. Politics obey to a momentum, because remember what was the motto of Joe Biden throughout his political campaign: restore the soul of the nation. It's like the idea, it's like I am the force of the good. My predecessor was the force of the evil. Now it's time, because now it's like there is also a strategy in terms of the way to introduce yourself in society. So the current administration wanted to make sure even it's like in using hypocrisy, hypocrisy, but I am the force of the good. My predecessor, Trump, was the force of the evil. So I think, yes, to some extent, when you do things that expose them, yeah, that can work. That can work. And
look in the mirror.
don't underestimate also the power of social media. So don't think when you send or you are retweeting them, it's part of the public image of the politician too. Remember what Machiavelli said to Lorenzo de Medici. A politician should always, be mindful about his image. There's an image, that the politician wanted to preserve. So we have to be smart at that point also.
Well, I guess the Biden is going to continue that image of hypocrisy. So, but we're going to see. We're going to see, because as long as he reduces the amount of deportations he's doing to Haitians, which is crazy. But as you mentioned earlier, there's been some sort of code or law.
But it could be worse if we didn't have. It could be worse if we didn't have, member of the grassroots sending petition, giving interview, exposing what he's wrongdoing. It could be worse.
Right?
Yeah.
They could have been sending 10,000.
Yep.
You're right about that. But
okay, so I think I have to wrap up now. Okay, Kevin.
I was going to tell you, man, I don't want to sleep on that couch. And by the way, Jean-Jacques Dessalines had wrote Thomas Jefferson. It was I want to say 40, but I'm not sure it was 40, but it was something like that. But $40 back in 1810 was equivalent of about $895. $40 is a little bit of money. But back then, it's almost $1,000.
So you can see also the philosophy of Dessalines, what he had in mind. Also, he was a visionary, not only to send over to you.
Right. Yeah, I can see he learned from Toussaint. But it's all good though. We're gonna talk about that, man. Thank you so much for your time, man. I'm so sorry it took almost two hours of your life, man. But hopefully it inspired and was a blessing to many other people. I had to get you on the show. Thank you again. Let me go ahead and let you go. So you go ahead and get you some dinner or something like that. Some legume de blanc sauce or something like that, probably, huh? Or it's too late?
No, it's too late for me. It's too late for me. I will just have something light.
Okay, then. All right. Well, blessings to you, Dr. St. Paul, and appreciate you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to everyone, and have a good night.
All right. Thanks. Be blessed.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, we got to wrap it up, man. This is probably one of the longest interviews I have done in quite a long time, but believe it or not, it was one of the greatest, most powerful ones. So thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate you. We thank you. We was on there for about two hours and 10 minutes. Wow, we really was rolling, man. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and many blessings to you. King Kevin Dorval in the building as usual. As I mentioned, we got a big program we're doing. We definitely gonna do things in Haiti to help the children of Haiti with the campaign that we're running with the artwork. These are two paintings in the background if you see. Divine Books of Art is coming out real soon. So just stay tuned, man. Follow me. Please like and share this video. Thanks to everybody who donated tonight, especially my peoples out there on YouTube who's checking us out. Sorry about the difficulties from early on in the show, but I was corrected and so was able to have it live. So we thank y'all. Blessings. You're welcome, Major Leagues, for tuning in. Elissa Yagi, Yaj, hopefully I pronounce your name. Darlene Stewart, thank you for all your help and love, all as usual. Everybody else, Akunde of Haitians, my people. Okay, Mono, I see you. Gerard, okay, what's happening? Thanks for posting the website. I'm surprised Facebook didn't block that, Darlene. Kevin Doyle, oh, you put the comma. All right. Use the 7 Queens, 7 Kings .ecdw. I don't know why I can't post nothing. You know what? Before I hang up on this live on Facebook, let me put the website. If you guys don't know, Facebook has blocked me from they blocked my website, kevindover.com, because they thought I was too brilliant, I guess, you know, too much black love. So I use this other website, and this allowed me to put as much content as my main website, kevindover.com. But this website, you can always, catch up with me, you know, and tune in through this one. So it's 7kings.ecwid.com. So it looks kind of salesy because all my books are just right there in your face, but I really don't have a choice. But if you go down to the bottom of that site, you get my main website with my blogs, my products, art, books, obviously. The Winning in the Mirror, thank God, is coming out. I mean, I appreciate y'all, man. But let me get going because I've been on here for a minute. I just posted a website, Capture the Enemy. What's up, Jim? I appreciate that. You know, capture the enemy straight up. So, you know, this is what I do. You know, everybody who's been following me and supporting me over the years, you know, I'm genuine. I go hard for mine. You know, if you're with me, I ride with you. If you're not, then we riding against you, period. So I'm going to do something with my hair. I'm trying to get these locks in. I'm probably going to retwist it next week. But, man, I'm going back to the roots, man. I'm going back to the Mother Nature. We're going to do whatever we got to do to help our people in Haiti. I don't care what we got to do. Because Haiti should be way far more in advance, as you mentioned, the Citadel, the Palace on Sunset, the first constitutions of the Western Hemisphere. You know what I'm saying? The first constitution period to name all people free. We did that, but they did. The foreign powers were very creative. They took our strength as a military and defensive country. They took our strength and made it to our weakness, to where they completely obliterated the Haitian army. The way to defend ourselves. They completely dismantled that because they understood our spirit. And if we get our money right, we get our weapons right, then we're going to get our minds right. You know, we'll be able to protect our women in Haiti, the children, be able to have infrastructure. It's a lot of good things going on. Haiti is a beautiful country. I don't give a damn what the people say or what they put out there. Haiti is a beautiful country. I've been there I'm about to say several times, but I've been there once. I'm going back again. I was supposed to go last year, but you know, COVID, can't really travel. But I'm going back again, either there or the motherland. So anyway, man, I can go on and on. I've been on here. How long we been on here? Wow, 1 hour and 51 minutes. So I hope everybody shared it. The Winning in the Mirror, check me out, kevindover.com. And I'm gonna post all my books up here actually, so you guys can really see Road 3, and we're gonna help other young students become writers. We need to be more interested in investing in our youth. I mean, I truly believe that we need to be more invested in supporting our youth for their future, because there's so many of them are just straight up giving up. As a matter of fact, that book that I just posted on the Winning in the Mirror, Activating Superpowers, Mind, Body, and Spirit, and God knows I ain't lying. You know, and Kiki Gowdy, you know, she's on my classmate of mine. She also lives in Georgia. You know, she can attest to what I'm saying, is that I wrote that book because of the amount of black kids killing themselves. You know, black students killing themselves, #1 population of suicide, man. It's alarming and it's scary. I mean, it lit like when I found this out about what's going on with our youth, black youth killing themselves, black males hanging themselves, shooting themselves, taking poison, all kind of craziness. You can tell they have a demonic spirit has taken over their minds to the point where they just giving up. When I found out the stats on the amount of black kids committing suicide, you know what that made me do? I was working on a documentary on The Courage to Believe, which we're gonna have to release one way or the other. I was working on a documentary. I was also working on 7 Types of Kings, Queen's Desire. And when I found out, when I heard the stats of black children killing each other, I just, I don't even think I was looking for it. I think I just kind of stumbled upon it because I'm late night. I'm always researching different things. And when I got the stats on that, it made me stop in my tracks. Like I want to say 30,000 words already written, about 10 chapters already into the book, right? My mouth, my heart just sank. I was like, oh shit, like, is this really going on right now? Like, is this what's happening to our black boys? Like, so so I began to think, why is it so many of our youth killing themselves? And black girls too. Why are they killing themselves? And I'm gonna find out, you know, it's one, the father's not there. You know, the feeling of abandonment. They, you know, they on social media, so they think they should be having all this richness and gold and cars and clothes and rings and necklaces and rims and you know, they should be having a certain type of shoes. They don't have it. I mean, the mom not there because the mom working. She's either working or twerking, whatever's going on. But when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, like what has happened? Like literally what has happened? I'm about to read something to you guys from the NYU EDU website. So this is not my words, but I'm gonna read something to you. A number of trends of increasing suicide rates amongst Black youth are noted in the report. In youth ages 10 to 19, suicide was the second leading cause of death in 2017. 10 to 19. Young at the age. Some of them probably didn't even lose their virginity yet. Probably didn't even have a job yet. I'm gonna continue. Over 3,000 youth died by suicide in this age group. 3,000 in 2017. And the Black youth suicide rate rose 2.5%, 100,000 in 2007 to 4.8 per 100,000 in 2017. Read that again. Suicide rate rose amongst Black youth from 2.55% per 100,000 in 2007 to 4.8 per 100,000 in 2017. So in 10 years, it increased by 2 point something. All right. Meanwhile, Black youth under 13 are 2 times likely. This is what got me right here. Black youth under 13 years old are 2 times more likely to die by suicide when comparing by sex, and Black males 5 to 11 are more likely to die by suicide compared to white peers. 5 to 11. Kids 5 to 11. What do you know about anything 5 to 11 other than playing video games, eating chocolate milk, sandwiches, Capri Suns, playing in the parks, video games, school, taking out the garbage? What do you know about life that you would take that drastic step? I'm going to continue. Finally, according to the report, the suicide death rate among Black youth has been found to be increasing faster than any other racial ethnic group. That tells you one thing for sure. Our kids are backwards because they are raised by backward single mothers and backwards Black fathers who neglected them. Completely got rid of them, not thinking about them, don't care about them, just going about their business, pimping, hoeing, clubbing, drinking, smoking, in prison or dead. I mean, think about it. You hear what I just said? 5 to 11. Black kids, Black boys, 5 to 11 are more likely to die by suicide comparison to white boys, the white peers. And that never happened in the 90s, 80s, 70s. There's always white kids killing themselves. You know what I'm saying? There's always a white thing. But believe it or not, that's a misnomer. That stereotype is not true anymore. It's Black children killing themselves. Now, I feel as if, you know, being an author, doing the annual Black on Black Crime Solutions panel, which we do every year. And every year, I'm campaigning for fundraising to make sure we do this. The annual event. Make sure we're able to fund the C2B Chess Club and Youth Mentoring Program. Make sure that we fund what we're doing now, the Queen Rosette Pierre Creative Arts Center. Like every year, I'm campaigning for these things, and they always geared towards youth. I don't know, maybe people think that I'm a crook or something. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you Google me, Google me. Maybe they think I'm scamming or something. You know what I'm saying? They get crossed up with Dr. Umar, who I don't think is scamming at all. I truly believe what the brother is doing. He may not, be the most ethic person in the world to look up to, but what he's saying and what he's doing is valid. It's of Marcus Garvey would acknowledge that, would be happy about that. You know what I'm saying? Would be happy about what I'm doing. General Toussaint Louverture, I keep talking about, would bow to something like that. What we're doing as Black men and leaders of our community. Our children are killing themselves because of the stupidity of the parents, the neglect of the parents, And society, obviously, the police don't care about us. Tupac said that many years ago. Michael Jackson said that even more, many more years ago. They don't care about us. We got to care about us. Because if we don't care about us, then we just left out for the wars. There's no defense in the community and no defense in the homes. If we don't stand up and support our children, we don't stand up and support what they're doing. If we don't stand up to support their future, investing in their future, making our youth excited about their future, then they're going to continue killing themselves, hanging themselves with ropes. And like, I still can't think about it. I could think about it. I still can't believe it. I still can't. I'm reading it. I'm reading the articles. I'm seeing the videos. I can't believe it. And I feel like God put in my spirit, you need to do something about this. Do your part in it. It's not just you. You need to get with people, like-minded energy and spirits, who's not only going to talk about, post it, pray, but donate their money, donate their time and efforts and making this happen. Mark my words, before I leave this earth, God willing, we will have that Queen Rosette Pierre Creative Arts Center in honor of my mother, for one, and two, because our children deserve it. It's going to be different than anything anybody's ever done. As soon as the word gets out, I know all kinds of celebrities going to jump aboard, all types of politicians going to jump aboard. But right now, the grassroots level, I need y'all help and support right now. Now we got to GoFundMe. We haven't made it active. We deactivated, but we're gonna we started. But if you do donate to my Cash App, put in there Queen Rosette, and I know, okay, this money goes to this. Now I'm not broke by far. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something that I'm trying to get money from y'all. Matter of fact, I want to say this is a biblical scripture, but maybe it's not, but it is a biblical proportions. My opinion. And I'm King Kevin, and what I say is bond. When people support what you're doing, whether it's $1 or 5 cents, when they support and donate to what you're doing, they are sowing a seed into a dream. And right now we are sowing seeds into all the wrong things, and we're getting a harvest of terror, because we've been planting the wrong seeds. But now we have a chance to correct those seeds. I'm not saying just support what I'm doing or to get my books or to donate. I'm not saying that you have to do that. There's many other King Kevin Dover's out there doing their thing. Dr. Umar's out there doing their thing. Find a way to support our people so that we can have a future, ladies and gentlemen, because we are losing in this war. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing made that very plain in her book, ISIS Papers, and also in her videos. We are at war and we are losing this war. Now, I captured the enemy. Mr. Napoleon Bonaparte, I captured it. I did that. But now we need to capture the future of our youth so they can have freedom, so they can be free and be happy in this world. You understand? All right. That's enough, man. Y'all be blessed. King Kevin in the building. Stay tuned for more. I got a lot coming real soon. Bless. Yes, end.